So he cast me not because he said this is the perfect actor for this part. He cast me for the budget. Nobody cares about casting you in the context of are you the correct actor for this. They're just saying कितने पैसे मिलेंगे इसके साथ.
The recent interview of Imran Khan with Samdesh Bhatia is probably one of the most refreshing Indian celebrity interviews I have seen lately, for not only how self-aware the actor was about his own acting ability, but also because it probably is the first time I've seen an Indian actor openly speak about the acting fees he was commanding at the prime of his career.
Ranveer, Shahid, all of these guys were about the same age.
Correct.
None of them are going to earn less than 30 crores for a film.
I think it's important to know that the ability of an actor in front of camera and his refreshing self-aware take on his own career can mutually coexist. Just because I'm critical of someone's work does not mean that they need to be criticized for every facet of their life. In this discussion, as Imran was specifically talking about hating his own performances, the snippet that you just saw in the introduction stuck with me on what was his experience working with Vishal Bhardwaj on Matru Ki Bijli Ka Mandola, where he felt the most lost and abandoned, where his casting choice was merely dictated by his commercial value versus his ability to play the character, a character that was initially offered to Ajay Devgan. Imran Khan's performance in the movie has been mentioned on this channel multiple times on one of the biggest miscastings in Hindi cinema, a casting choice in retrospect that helped the director in acquiring funds for his movie but adversely affected the quality of the film. I have multiple times on the channel spoken about poor casting choices from Arjun Kapoor in Panipat, Nargis Fakhri in Rockstar, Chaddha Kapoor in Hasina Parkar, and John Abraham in Welcome Back, to name a few, where there was a clear lack of ability in their performances and an alternate choice would have possibly done wonders for the film. Through this video, I wanted to speak about the choices in recent years that have hampered the quality of the movie. This ranges from stars believing that they have the ability to pull off the roles to actors just being completely out of their depth in portraying the complex parts. Remember this, we are only going to be talking about performances from the 2020s. So think about the appearances after the pandemic that stuck out like a sore thumb. So here is Tried&Refused Productions with 15 worst Bollywood casting choices from the 2020s. Shaman Sehgal in Heeramandi. The boring relationship between Tajdar and Alam, played by Taha Shah and Shaman Sehgal respectively, was a snooze fest to sit through. The case of star-crossed lovers is something Bansali is really well versed with, but I found myself struggling to care about the duo who throw average poetry at each other and get impressed by the last words of verses simply rhyming with the next. Shaman, for an actor who was just one film old, got so much screen time, but other than looking beautiful, a lot having to do with the beautiful makeup and costumes, there was absolutely no impact with her delivery or emotional range. She has portions of looking at the distance which genuinely made me wonder if she was blind. The nazakats, the sharmana is too bland and stiff, and it was tough to root for such lack of expressions. The blank expressions coupled with the monotone delivery and the final kill of her obnoxious press run really made people fall out of love with the actor and the character she portrayed, making me wonder whether she will have future acting opportunities ahead.
एक बार देख लीजिए, दीवाना बना दीजिए.
Nope. Junaid Khan in Loveyapa. I really wanted to root for Junaid Khan, for I saw glimpses of charm and elegance in his debut film Maharaj. Junaid was stiff in his debut film, but a lot of it I assumed was a representation of the character that he was playing. But when I did see Loveyapa in 2025, a remake of the Tamil film Love Today, where Junaid Khan had to effortlessly play a Dilli ka Londa, I realized that the stiffness was an acting crutch for him across the board. For a character that required an ease, a natural banter amongst his friends, and a rough but earnest romantic dynamic with his love interest, Junaid seemed awkward and extremely uncomfortable in this role. I often think about how wildly convincing Ranveer Singh was as Bittu in his debut film Band Baja Barat, while being born and raised in Mumbai. In sharp contrast, Junaid just could not convince me as Dilli ka Gaurav Sachdev. Khushi did not make the case more convincing either. Sara Ali Khan in Aur Watan, Mere Watan. A lot of people assumed that if I will be mentioning Sara Ali Khan and how her role for a particular film was unconvincing, that I would mention Love Aajkal. I totally agree with that sentiment, and I actually believe that a different casting may have made that film tolerable. However, I must say that another movie that would have fared way better with a different casting was Aur Watan, Mere Watan. The layered approach required for the portrayal of an unsung hero like Usha Mehta was missing, and we see the same tropes of Sara's performance and dialogue delivery that we have been critical about for several performances. Stiff, awkward, lacking any change in diction or body language, the performance was confusing and frustrating as it made me contemplate what I should feel, because the visibility that a talent like Sara gets with project after project is not juxtaposed with the home runs in terms of character portrayals and powerful performances. Is it terrible? I wouldn't say that, but was it, after 9 films, still underwhelming? Yes. Aamir Khan in Laal Singh Chaddha. From where he is in college, is an athlete, enrolls in the army, and to the way he narrates the story, it was the same as we feared from the trailer. The wide-eyed wonder in the eyes of PK just cannot be forgotten with the way Aamir has portrayed Laal before and even after he starts sporting the turban. There is this theory regarding Aamir and the pitch at which he plays certain characters. It's almost dumbed down to the point of catering to the masses, but in several portions of the film it actually came across as artificial and more of a caricaturish portrayal. What's actually a little shocking is that it's inconsistent in regards to how he is as a child and a mature adult. In both these portions, Ahmed Ibn Umar has this calmness and sincerity in his eyes that are not forcefully projecting a performance, and the same is the case with Aamir and his later portions in the film, especially in the final 15 minutes, but this odd attempt to be animated through most of the film are so jarring and uncomfortable that I think it pulled the film's quality down, leading to why it's a performance that still gets trolled today. Rajkumar Rao in The White Tiger. One of the most capable and versatile actors in my eyes is Rajkumar Rao. This is a man who has come with zero connections within the film industry and has made a name for himself in such iconic roles. The man has had the ability to create an impression both in the artistic as well as commercial space, assimilating perfectly in the worlds of Newton and Shahid as well as Bareli Ki Barfi and Stree. But the one thing that I've noticed about Rajkumar is that whenever he is playing a character who has spent some time in a foreign land, he struggles with that accent. His accent is something that has always been jarring for me to hear, both in Omerta and The White Tiger.
Our driver represents the biggest untapped market in India, waiting to surf the web, buy a cell phone, rise up into middle class.
The perception that Raj has spent an ample amount of time abroad does not translate in his delivery and actually sounds like an Indian attempting an American or British accent. This is especially uncomfortable in The White Tiger, where I couldn't be convinced of his American accent, a criticism that I felt is accurate for a specific part of his filmography. He nails almost every part of India, but not so much when the NRI tag comes into the picture. I have to say, however, Anushka Sharma still takes the cake with terrible accents in movies.
Okay, alright.
Alia Bhatt in Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani. This is a movie that I have mixed opinions on because I believe it's an inconsistent movie that heavily relies on Ranveer Singh and his performance as Rocky. Alia, however, as the Delhi-residing Bengali journalist, never sounded like she originates from a Bengali family. She looked beautiful in her sarees, but her accent was inconsistent and her performance, especially in the heightened emotional moments, was shrill and loud. I spoke about these same features in her performance when I believe she undeservedly bagged the Filmfare Award for this role. When I look at the actors who played characters from a similar demographic that includes the likes of Yami Gautam in Vicky Donor or Deepika Padukone in Piku, I think they were far more convincing in getting the details of one's diction and pitch when playing a proud Bengali in the national capital. Parineeti Chopra in Saina. One movie you may have completely forgotten about is the Saina Nehwal biopic starring Parineeti Chopra that released in 2021. This is a movie that was massively trolled for how the mole on Parineeti Chopra's face would sporadically change in size, shape and location as the running minutes of the movie passed by. While the tender moments shared by Parineeti with her family were convincing, her physical ability on the court trying to convince the audience of being an elite badminton player went completely in vain, as most of the matches you could tell that a dupe had been utilized versus Parineeti getting into the thick of the action. The child actor was more an accurate representation of Saina Nehwal than the main actor. Shraddha Kapoor was supposed to originally play the role, but I think this replacement solely depended on Parineeti's ability as an actor versus genuinely seeking for an artist who would have holistically fit the role of an Olympic medalist. Janhvi Kapoor in Param Sundri. When the intention behind the casting of the movie is that the character should accurately represent the region where she resides from, so much so that the art form that she performs, the clothes that she she wears, the cinema that she watches, and the food that she eats all have to represent the culture and eccentricities of the state of Kerala, and you narrow down on Janhvi Kapoor, then it genuinely makes me wonder that there is little to no attention on whether the actor is appropriate for the role in commercial cinema. I know I got roasted in the last video for even having an inkling that this mess of a film would have another outcome with a different casting, but Janhvi was a mess in this film. Screw her accent, they couldn't even convincingly make her perform Mohini Attam in this movie. Deepika Padukone in Singham Again. There are some forms of cinema that are just not inherently in your DNA no matter how hard you try. And even though people may argue that Deepika Padukone has aced the over-the-top pitch in a movie like Chennai Express, I feel like that movie has aged like milk, and her performance in Singham Again crashed upon arrival, not only because it was terribly written, but because Deepika's delivery just lacked the zany, whimsical and fun approach to masala cinema. Her dialogue delivery and her action set pieces were such a sore to the eye. There is a point where the slow motion shots are so badly choreographed that the villains are actually running in the same spot rather than moving just so that they can capture a money shot with Deepika. When some emotional depth is asked of Deepika, she does well in a heartfelt scene with Ajay Devgan, but holistically, Shakti Shetty provides no real spice into the mix, especially with that flat dialogue delivery. Akshay Kumar and Samrat Prithviraj. This was Akshay Kumar playing Prithviraj. I just could not get the fact out of my head that this is Akshay Kumar. The ability to completely imbibe the essence of the king is missing, especially in scenes that require the actor to channelize a sense of command amongst his kingdom. It seemed like another project that Akshay Kumar has done and a very good job at it, but not excelled at it, and this is exactly what was required for a project like this. And that's the difference. When people defend his regularity of doing a movie every 2 months, yes, he helps in employing people and loves his job, that's good. But also on the flip side, that's the difference. That the performance will be good, he has decades of experience in front of camera, of course it will be good. But it will never go up to the notch to become a masterpiece. And that's what a movie of this scale and vision demanded. You know you are doomed when you not only have a fake mustache on, but when you stand in front of your court and people associate that pose to Raju from Hera Fairy versus having the screen presence of a king. Kajol and Do Patti. I thought I would never say this regarding a movie starring Kajol and Kriti Sanon, but Kajol as a Haryanvi cop in Devipur is just not convincing. It probably has to do with the way the character was written or just the inconsistent accent that she sports. We are given this information dump about her parents, her politics, her coping mechanism with her journal, her resistance to relationships, all in quick succession, but I think the most jarring quality was the accent that just comes in and out conveniently. She would say things like "Hum koshish kar rahe hain," but then go on to say rishte with ease. A pair would be followed by afsar being said like makhan. The accent just creeps whenever she pleases, and this is in sharp contrast to Jaideep Ahlawat as Hathiram Chaudhary in Patal Lok and the pucker he had to the accent and its detailing. Kajol as a Haryanvi cop was quite unintentionally funny. Shah Rukh Khan in Dunki. It was tough to sit through SRK's performance in the Rajkumar Hirani directed movie Dunki. I have realized that I cannot sit through an SRK performance when the character and his identity is largely associated from the region that he comes from. What I mean by this is that when SRK has to perform a thick accent, it usually takes away from his performances because the delivery itself is so distracting. This is true for Ravan and true for Jab Harry Met Sejal and Dunki. To make matters worse, in Dunki, SRK had the combination of both the Punjabi accent and this new employed baritone husky pitch he has integrated in every character, making his performance extremely inconsistent and awkward in Dunki. Even when you see sequences of SRK breaking down in court, what is otherwise so easy for him to channelize an inner angst from a character, SRK stumbled through making even the most basic emotions convincing, making Dunki possibly his weakest performance in years. Ibrahim Ali Khan in Sarzameen. A boy who becomes vulnerable to extremist thoughts is presented with a fake beard with these chiseled abs and several slow motion shots. It almost seemed like the movie was in desperate need to relaunch Ibrahim as a star, desperate to make him look cool versus being true to the character. The man is literally presented with washboard abs doing one-arm push-ups. It almost made me feel like the makers could have easily placed the song Kukkada Kamalda. He is given these badass rock songs while beating and bashing people in the rain, making it Dharma's version of an innocent boy turned terrorist that can't be grimy, ruthless and unesthetic. Ibrahim Ali Khan barely had any moments in dialogue where you would be convinced that he has turned a new leaf with his performance. There are some silences beautifully enhanced by the heartfelt music of the film, but there is barely anything to see from elements such as dialogue delivery, diction, or the ability to express complex feelings. A failed approach at a relaunch of a Nepo baby, if I were to be blunt. Rashmika Mandanna in Chhaava. I remember being one of the first people to come in defense of Rashmika when she was terribly trolled for Animal and her dialogue delivery. A performance that I believe got lost in meme culture, but those who had watched the film would wholeheartedly tell you that she absolutely nailed the role of Gitanjali. I wanted to love Rashmika in Chhaava, but I just could not get past her dialogue delivery. Rashmika has big expressive eyes that communicates her loyalty and love towards her husband, almost getting lost in his eyes when his towering presence stands strong in front of her. However, her dialogues in the film gave the energy of a primary school Hindi elocution competition. Knowing very well that this is a historical film and how one should be mindful of each word said in dialogues, Rashmika almost enunciates each consonant with such vigor that you felt like she was struggling through most of the film, inadvertently having a Kannada twang to her Hindi which did stick out like a sore thumb. I would imagine casting someone Marathi would have been ideal for the same, or just the bare minimum. And finally, you're right, this list is incomplete without, drumroll please,
Hi Prabhas.
Prabhas in Adipurush. I don't think there was anything that was going to save this project anyway for the absolute disrepute it had already done to the sacred text, how the visuals were a complete sore to the eye, and how the director and writer were doubling down against others while defending their own mediocrity under the guise of religion.
Keep one seat for our Hanumanji.
However, Prabhas as Sri Ram from the very first poster release just did not capture the serenity, compassion and moral strength I associated with Lord Ram. The heavy digitization to his physical body, the stiff approach in scenes lacked grace, the dialogues lacked modulation, and it just did not exemplify the attention to detail a revered figure like Lord Ram deserved when portraying him on the big screen. A colossal mess of a film anyway, but Prabhas throughout the marketing material and even in the film never felt like the right pick for the role. Another case of casting choices made for the commercial value they bring versus being appropriate for the role. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you think were the worst castings in Bollywood in the 2020s. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.